Namaskaram, I'm sorry for this glitch. I think all of us should get used to this virus world, that this is how we're going to talk to each other the warmth of being together. I think we need to put it off for some time. And as things are, as all of you already know, the main concern that is building up in the world is initially we thought this virus is largely going to cause respiratory infection and damage in that context, but now we are seeing it is causing damage to the liver, it is causing neurological damage, brain damage, and it's manifesting in many different ways in different parts of the world. And also, the general understanding was that once you get an infection, you have antibodies and you will manage with this, but the reinfections are multiplying, particularly in Europe. It has not been noticed in India, maybe people are not going back, I don't know what's the situation. But definitely, nobody has a handle on the virus yet. We have managed in India, we have managed very well by controlling human behavior, but we still have no clue what is the nature of this virus, how is it going to play out. It's largely in the mode of hope. Well, some scientists are saying, particularly for India, that if we lock down till May 15th, our virus problems may end somewhere in mid-September, and if we lock down till May 31st, it may end somewhere in mid-July. Some projections are being made, but I think this is all playing with statistics. But at a time like this, statistics should be used how a drunk will use a lamppost only for support, not for illumination. I don't think anybody has a clear picture where this is going. But having said that, I have a personal feeling that India will not go to extremes in terms of fatalities and the way it is running through New York State. I don't think that will happen here. For variety of reasons, fundamental resilience of who we are, our immune systems function in a certain way, because so many things have not been able to kill us. So in that sense, we are a little more resistant to things. And also our lifestyle, particularly in southern India, the type of food that we're eating, our lifestyles. And also we are only one generation away, most of us are only one generation away, only about 40 to 50 years away from agricultural lifestyles. Because of that, because of our connection with the land, and over 65% of the people still in some way are engaged with the land, because of this we may pass through this much more easily than Western societies the way they're going through. But our economic problems could be much more, simply because as it is for 1.4 billion people, we don't have a sizable economy to service 1.4 billion people. In the last 20 years of economic development that's happened in the country, which is substantial, because of this we have pulled out nearly 240 million people out of poverty. Unfortunately, it is possible if we don't handle things right, in the next 2 years' time, we may push them straight back below the poverty line. So in all this, there are bright spots, but you are all the business people, you must be experts. I think it's better I leave that to you rather than me making an analysis. But what I see is, without a strong investment from outside the country, without that, I don't think we have the capability to put back the markets in place, to put back the industry in place, to move the populations back to their workplaces. These crores of people, once they move away, they will most of them may have a small piece of land, they will get into agricultural activity or something, and also the fear of coming back to a big city, because most of the deaths happen in the big cities. So there are many social issues and stuff. But extending the lockdown, is it a possibility? Maybe in a partial mode they will try, but partial lockdown is always far more difficult to enforce than a total curfew-like lockdown can be done with a force. But partial lockdowns are very difficult. and there is a certain amount of social unrest building it up. People are, reaching a point where they are coming to this mode. It doesn't matter if we die, we will go out and do something, that kind of mode. And also people running out of their economic resources at many levels of the society, and they want to anyway get out and work. In America, they are getting out because they want to have a haircut. That is another kind of need. But India has a unique problem. In my personal opinion, I believe that unless we grab this opportunity, there is an opportunity in the sense, the trust that people had in our neighboring country, in the Chinese economy, I think it's been seriously eroded. And already Japan has offered over $500 billion to help their industry move out of China. And United States, I'm sure, will do something much stronger. So, over 300 top companies in the world could be, if not fully, partially moving out of China. This is a great opportunity. India is eminently positioned to take this. This will need a very determined effort from the industry lobby, the businesses and the government, of course, have to pitch in. Already we have put in these things, and I'm sure government is also very conscious about this. But how efficiently we do it, how hungrily we grab this will determine this. If these 300 companies come into India even for partial production, and if we spread it across the 28 states to some extent, in some way we can get the economy buzzing. See, some of our sectors, which are like textile, which involves a lot of labor and a whole lot of people are involved in this, is one of the large employers in the country. I don't think these sectors will be able to bounce back immediately because there will be no market for this sector. So, things which are concerned with food, electronics and software, all these things can come up, healthcare, all these things can come up. But many industries like entertainment, textiles, fashion, apparel, these things will take a very big hit. And well, all of us are going to have a lot of pain, but this is also a time for us because we've always been patting our own back saying that we are a very innovative society. Well, this is the time to show how innovative we really are. These are genuinely challenging times. If people are not grasping the full depth of this, it will come home to us in the next month or two. How much of a challenge it is. It is a great challenge. It is a challenge of… the biggest challenge our generation has faced. But we are capable because as a nation we have certain advantages and we are positioned in a certain way geopolitically, and there is a certain amount of disturbance in the country, in the world. We have been left out of the economic development in the world, including Asia. Even most of the Asian countries are at least 25 to 30 years ahead of us. I think this is probably the best possible opportunity we have to level that in the next 3 to 5 years' time. But it is going to be painful. It is going to be painful for all of us to make very painful decisions that we wouldn't want to make in our lives. This is a time we will have to do such things. As you know, in Italy, in Spain and even in New York City, even for ventilators, in well-developed countries where economies are strong, even there, they are deciding who should get the ventilator. So if me and my mother need ventilator, they will give it to me, not to my mother. If me and my daughter needs ventilator, they'll give it to her, not to me. I'm saying these are cruel decisions to make. So people that we care for, people we are concerned about, people who work for us, unfortunately, we may have to make very painful decisions. So these are definitely challenging times, but we must come out of this successfully. That is where this is a time for us to prove how resilient a generation are we. Yes.
Sadhguru, thank you so much for this. We have some questions, and I know that you're always there to answer it. What do you mean by… sorry I will take the prerogative of asking you the first question. do you mean by this word resilience? Does it come in the form of hope, or does it come in the form of faith? And how do you expect, for instance, Rajiv Bajaj yesterday gave a statement in the paper saying that you want me to open my factories, why should I, when there are no people to buy motorcycles? The money's gone out. So how do you put that back in the form of resilience of the people? Because yes, we know there are opportunities out there. Everybody talks about them. But those first steps of how to make it and move us.
There is no magic wand for the challenge that we are facing. There is no one golden solution that you can go for and this is it. Well, all of us have to rethink the fundamentals of what we are doing. For example, let's say right now there are educational institutions, we are focused on this in a big way because we have such a huge, massive young population. Well, even if we want to open the schools, parents may not be willing to send their children to schools if the fatalities continue and they won't want to send their children out. So now we have to reinvent how we're going to do education. Similarly, motorcycles, they are dear to me. So, we have to bring back this in so many different ways. Machines have to be engines and machines can be used in 1,000 different ways. We have to see how we can do this. Maybe motorcycles will have to become small agro machines, I don't know what. It's not for me to suggest. But I'm saying, if this goes for a long period, let's say this goes for 12 to 18 months, then for things to recover, it'll take 3 to 4 years' time. So these 4 years, are you going to just close down your industry and wait? That's not going to happen. That's not a practical thing. We will have to innovate. We will have to sell our motorcycles somewhere else. We will have to sell our clothing somewhere else. We will have to change the way we do the service industry. Now, one of the large employers is tourism. Do you think tourism is going to come back anytime soon? Definitely that's not going to come back. Hospitality industry, an enormous amount of people employed in this. You think people are going to fill the hotel rooms? It is not going to happen very soon, it's going to take time. Unless before September, if this virus situation ends in India, then we may recover in 6 months or 9 months' time maximum. But if it continues as people are predicting, in United States they're saying post-fall season in winter, it's the second wave will come 10 times stronger than the way it has come right now. Even in China, they are thinking in fall time it is going to come back in a big way. Some of the scientists are saying that. But as I said, these are all predictions based on existing situations. What virus will do, what is its capability, what is its resilience? We still do not know much about it because it is our knowledge about it or our conclusions about it is changing every day. So we still do not know, we don't have any kind of handle on the virus. We have contained it only by controlling human behavior. We've done nothing about the virus, either about curing the disease or about preventing it. Nothing we have done because we don't have full picture of what the virus can do. We still don't have a full picture. So whatever we say is largely conjecture, we are just hoping and projecting things. But the important thing is, we must be in a state of enormous level of innovations we must be capable of. We must be willing to come down from whatever comfortable towers we are sitting on and come down to the ground and reinvent a whole lot of things as to how we do it. There is no particular way to do it because for each industry, for each region, it is going to be very, very different.
Thank you, Sadhguru. And we've really learned that medicine is now adaptive and prescriptive and not scientific. But I'd like to throw open a question to Mr. Sumit Mazumdar. Sumit is one of our past residents. He's the MD and chairman of TIL, manufacturer of one of the nation's largest material handling range. equipment range. So, Sumit?
Shobna, I'm seeing you, I'm not seeing Sadhguru.
I think you can flip your screen, but we can see Sadhguru. So go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram, Sumit. We met in Bangalore, I remember.
It was such a pleasure, you know. I still remember that day with very fondly.
Muthuraman sir was there, so.
And I did go outside to see your motorcycle, by the way. Okay, Sadhguruji, I have, it's a rare opportunity, so I have a few questions for you and I'll do them very quickly. You talked about partial lockdown is a problem because there'll be a lot of indiscipline and things like that. But you know, without partial lockdown, unless people start earning and companies start earning to pay salaries and wages, it becomes very difficult. And I think it's up to the administration to manage a partial lockdown. Areas can't be opened up to really intensify the policing over there. I mean, this is just my view. The other point you made was you have to take a tough decision. You gave the example of a ventilator between your mother, you and your daughter, which is a very, very valid. But in your day-to-day life, within your family and your colleagues who you're dealing with every day, it's a very tough decision. In fact, the question that comes to my mind and which I want to really ask you is for people who have not been able to really handle the situation, you know, the way a lot of others have been able to handle, are in a psychological upheaval. How do you tackle and how do you help them? And the final question I have for you is, all the ailments mostly that we see are in urban India because it's been imported or whatever it is. But with the forceful migration of the workers back to their villages, if it starts spreading in the villages where the facilities are even far less, it could become a major issue. And what is your advice on that, please?
Well, as I said, every one of us will be forced to make painful decisions, unfortunately. For some of us, it may be economic decisions. For some of us, it's human things that people we value and be concerned about. We won't be able to reach out and do what we wish to do for them simply because economic concerns and social situations may be such. About partial lockdown, they will definitely do partial lockdown. That's what the plan is right now, it's very clear. But I'm saying in a country like India, enforcing partial lockdown is going to be extremely difficult. If it's a curfew, the policeman standing there with a stick or a gun and managing it is a different affair. But now, the moment you allow a part of the people to come out and work, another part cannot come out, that is going to be a serious challenge because that is not the kind of population we have and there will be issues how to manage that. About infections going to rural India, well, it is a concern, but at the same time, I have a strong gut feeling that it will not go wild in rural India for a variety of reasons. As I said, one thing is, it is my understanding that, I mean, there may not be scientific concurrence with this, but in my understanding, people who are working with the land, people who are in touch with the earth may not be so seriously impacted as urban people are impacted. I have a strong feeling towards that, I hope that comes true. But till now, a few crores of people have gone from urban centers to villages, but we have not seen an outburst of infections in rural India. And as it is said, the kind of… even in the virus, I think Shobana was saying something, I couldn't hear the whole thing. They are categorizing A, B, C, three different varieties. In India, it looks like it's a milder version. Once again, when the air travel starts between nations, international travel starts, we do not know what we will get back again. But it seems to be little less virulent, or we seems to be more resilient whichever way. As I said, there's no clear picture. What is the nature of the virus we are facing? We are getting piecemeal information. As they observe more things, they're coming up with more and more, but we don't have a clear picture exactly what it can do. So whether it will cause havoc in rural India or not is still a question mark, but in my gut feeling, I feel such a thing will not happen in rural India. This will largely be an urban phenomenon, and maybe especially small towns where people are really packed together, it may happen, but still that is a substantial population by itself. As I said, there is no magic wand. All of us must be ready for a hard 2 years at least, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sumit. The next question is by Rajan Navani. Rajan was one of the early young Indian presidents, and today he's the he chairs the CII Future Council and CII's India at 75 Council. So he's in a lot of IT, does lots of cool things. So Rajan, please, your question.
Thank you. Humble pranams, Sadhguruji.
Namaskaram.
Namaskar. You always, say that whatever comes into our lives is our own creation. I've heard you say that, and given that the current crisis that we are all dealing with is impacting, everyone pretty much around the world. A lot, of course, the older, but, the young generation who are aspirational, ready to go, many of the new age companies, startups, who are going to face severe disappointment right now and over the several coming months. I mean, I was just wondering if there is that one practical spiritual thing that you think that each one of us, every probably human around each day in this kind of a time of crisis, what would that be? And that could be in relation to what we do individually, maybe what one can do as a family, as a neighborhood, maybe as a company, as an employer or an employee, and maybe even as a country. So just your thoughts on that.
So, about we being a ready-to-go kind of generation, well, that's one thing we must change, I think. Right now, see, we are meeting over these screens and definitely it's not the same as meeting. But suppose we wanted to do this 6 months ago, all of us would have taken a flight to some place that's meeting is, and we would all be there and doing the same thing. Well, today we are doing it on the screen. This is one thing that we must get used to, I think, because air travel is one of the main reasons why it's gone across the world so quickly. Let us say 100, 200 years ago, if this same virus had come in Wuhan, probably 10, 25, 50 people would have died there and that would be the end of it. Nobody would have heard about it any more than that. But today, because of rapid travel, possibilities that we have, within a matter of 30, 40 days, it's just gone across the world. So this is one thing we must contain because WHO is now saying this is a generational thing. This virus may live with us in this entire generation. It's not going to go away. Hope that is not true, but that is one of the predictions they are making. About what we can do spiritually, let us understand this much. All human experience is caused from within us. Pain and pleasure happens from within us. Joy and misery happens from within us. Agony and ecstasy happens from within us. So every human experience, pleasant or unpleasant, only happens from within us. What happens from within us must happen the way we want it. What happens around us, as you're experiencing now, not only now, always, what happens around us, whether it is family situation or business situation or larger national or international situations, none of them ever happen 100% the way you want it. They never can happen in the very nature of things, because too many forces are involved in making of an external situation. But the internal situation within us, there is only one entity called myself. In the outside situation, there are too many forces. Nobody ever gets that in a perfect manner. We can get it somewhere to our liking, but not really absolutely. So having said that, now that outside situation is not going the way we would want it to go, isn't this the time that your inner situation must be absolutely the way you want it? Right now, most people's logic, I don't know what kind of logic it is, most people's logic is when outside situations go wrong, they will also turn against themselves. Well, they will call this anxiety, they will call this fear, they will call this confusion, whatever. But essentially what's happened is, every unpleasant experience within yourself essentially means your intelligence is turned against you. When the situation around you has turned against you, this is a time when your intelligence must stand 100% with you. But unfortunately, most people allow their intelligence to turn against themselves when outside situations have turned against us. So this is a situation where whatever faculties you have, whatever intelligence you have, whatever capabilities you have, whatever experience you have, you will need every bit of it. This situation is going to demand the best out of you. At this time, instead of functioning the best possible way that we can, our best may not still be good enough. That is the kind of situation we are in. When we are like this, you should not become an impediment to yourself. How can I do this? There are tools for this. Tools are offered all the time. There are simple tools with which you can take charge of your body, your thought, your emotion. If your physical body, your thought, your emotion is happening the way you want it, you remaining peaceful, joyful is guaranteed for you. But our ability to handle the outside situation is subject to various realities, and today we are in a reality that we have never been in. So we still we have not even grasped the reality. What is its full full dimension of what it is? We know it in bits and pieces, so we are trying to deal with it in bits and pieces. Probably the nature and the seriousness of what it is will come home in the next 2 to 3 months to all of us, so we must be prepared for it. Preparing for it means the most important thing is your intelligence should not turn against you, because your ability to function well in the world is largely determined by how balanced you are within yourself. If you have no balance, your own intelligence will turn against you. Everything that you have, all your faculties will become your enemies if the necessary balance is not there. To bring this balance, there are many tools. We have offered this free of cost to people all around the world. Right now, for all the medical personnel, even the inner engineering program is being offered free of cost, because the idea is when this challenging situation is there, the kind of challenge as a generation we have not seen till now. At this time, it's most important that our faculties, our intelligence works for us, not against us.
Thank you, Sadhguru. Thank you.
That was amazing, Sadhguru, what you gave those answers. In fact, the other day, I was telling my kids, let's look at this. When you come out of the lockdown, make sure you don't have regrets that you wasted that time, that there's something that you would have got out of it. And like you said, it's in your control. And all of us are at different stages of that. But I loved your answer. Rumjum Chatterjee is the group managing director and the head of human capital of Feedback. She and her husband built this great company that does most of the infra projects in India. The great ones are managed, including the metro rails and all are by Rumjum's company. She's also the CII national co-chair for CSR. Rumjum, please go ahead.
Thank you, Shobna. Namaskar, Sadhguru.
Namaskar, Amma.
I think the situation that we are in now, we are all experiencing, is unprecedented, no doubt. It's also a disruption in many ways. Home, family, business, work. We spoke about lives, livelihoods, all of that. And in my mind, what I'm experiencing right now is a little bit of a dichotomy and a little bit of disquiet, which is what I want to share with you. On the one hand, I see that the current situation of many of us working from home, etc., it has brought about lots of benefits. We are breathing cleaner air. There is no amount of rushing around. We are all much calmer. We are spending more time with family. We are able to embrace technology and work from home very productively. So there are lots of pluses. But there are also what I see as huge challenges that one can see in terms of disruption in business life, in survival economically, lots of job losses, anxiety on health issues, livelihoods. And one is left with a thing on saying, while I'm feeling calmer, what can I do to help others who are facing that challenge? Lockdown doesn't permit that. So what are the ways in which we can do that? And at a national level, I also believe that out of this kind of huge pain, there will come, like you rightly said about embracing innovation, is also an opportunity built into what we can gain for ourselves as a nation. So I'd like to hear your views on that, Sadhguru.
Well, namaskaram. Well, how much pain we will go through depends on the nature of activity we are performing right now. For some people, it may turn out to be an advantage because working from home is a great thing. But let's say you got onto an airplane to fly somewhere and your pilot comes on the microphone and says, "Today I'm working from home." Then what do you So, there are many people who have to get out, and even if they get out, there's nothing to do because there are many issues, as all of you know even better than me about this. About the psychological issues that we are creating for ourselves, this is what I was trying to elaborate in the previous question also. See, we are mistaking our psychological reality for existential reality. What is happening in my mind or your mind is our psychological drama. We should never misunderstand our psychological drama for a reality. Now there is a reality which is demanding for you to come out with your best. At this time, if you create a negative drama in your head and think that is the reality, see, right now, when we say people are anxious or fearful, what this means is, can I take a few minutes to answer this question?
Please, please. Yeah, please, Sadhguru.
See, the two greatest faculties that human beings have compared to other creatures on the planet, which no other creature has, is we have a very vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. This is what most human beings unfortunately are suffering. What they're suffering is, they're suffering evolution. If they had the brain of an earthworm, they would all be very peaceful. Right now, what anxiety and fear means is, you will cause suffering to you in anticipation of suffering. Anticipation of suffering that may never come to you. You don't even know whether it'll come or not. So, what is happening is, your imagination is running away. Just look at the way people suffer, what they suffer. Most people do not have much physical suffering unless there is an injury or ailment or now it may go into starvations and things. Physical suffering is a different matter. But 99% or at least 95% of human suffering is mental. That means it's on self-help. Your suffering is essentially on self-help mode. Nobody is causing it to you except yourself. This is simply because we have not taken charge of our memory and our imagination. We do not know how to use our memory, we do not know how to use our imagination. What happened 10 years ago, people are still suffering. What may happen day after tomorrow, they're already suffering. So what happened 10 years ago does not exist right now. But people are suffering, something that does not exist. What may happen day after tomorrow does not exist right now, but people are already suffering that which does not exist. If you suffer that which does not exist, it's a clear case, it's a medical case, But unfortunately, maximum number of people are in that condition, so that is being termed as normal. Even doctors have started saying, anxiety is a normal thing. When did this happen? When did anxiety become a normal thing? It is only in this generation that we are saying anxiety is a normal thing. Anxiety is not a normal thing. Anxiety means you are mistaking your psychological drama to be a reality. So, this much control we must take charge of, especially all of you who are in leadership positions, where how you think, feel and act is going to make or break a million people's lives. When you have such a privilege in your hands, you should not allow your psychological drama to overtake the realities in which you exist.
Thank you. Thank you. Sadhguru, thank you so much for spending time. I have four more very, interesting people who are dying to ask you questions. The next one is Firuz Kambata. Firuz lives in Ahmedabad and he's chairman and managing director of Rasna. Everyone's heard of that company. But he's also on the CII National Task Force of Ease of Doing Business and the CII Business and Disability Network. So, Firuz, will you go ahead, please?
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. It's a great privilege and honor. And I always seen you on television, and it is, I think, my all CII membership value for money has been realized today that I'm in front of you today.
We are still on the screen only. We are still on the screen.
Yeah. And coming, I think, honestly speaking, I heard the word pain so many times from you that I was a little bit surprised, because generally I find you very positive. And I am video calls with all my staff, almost 3,000 people, groups of them. And what I told them is that the only way out to win this is to find new ways. Otherwise, we will get into anxiety, depression. And luckily, all my plans have started. And we have done a lot of safe distancing around. Offices are operating a little bit. People are coming. People are going in the market also. Depots have started. And we are looking at it very positively. So what I would like to hear from you is that, see, I honestly, I'm not thinking it will go long. We will get a vaccine, we will get a cure. So I would want to know from your thought, what are the positive messages out of it for work and for family life also? Because I think we have also learned, a lot of speakers have talked about it, how to relive our lives, how to redefine our lives. So one thing I like to get some positive message out of you. One. Two, you definitely mentioned, and which I've been mentioning, like I am not traveling abroad, though I travel twice in a month. From, let us say, middle of February, I stopped. But I don't you think, as sort of, I know you said too many times, there are a lot of external things which are beyond our control, but we are all, let us say, businessmen are to an extent privileged that we as a group can really ensure that our voices are heard. Don't you think as businessmen, we have not made that possible? We could have probably made our voices more heard for various things, including, let us say, simple things like stopping flights early or getting a package, economic revival package. Most of the MSMEs in India are going to still struggle. There was a package promised 21 days back. No package actually has come, which will put money in the pocket of the people who are not getting salaries. So as a group of industrialists, what we are not doing so that we can collectively work with the decision makers, because this cannot be only left to the governments or some medicinal people. We all civil society people have to work towards it. So my second question is that. And third, I'm thinking of an online petition, which I am going to probably file, where we say that even if the country starts, no international flights should land in India for next 3 months or 4 months. Because the main problem is coming, as you rightly said 3 times, is from the flights which are coming from abroad. So even if we get cured, there are enough people who are going to come up. So these are my 3 bits of questions.
Well, there is a distinction between pain and suffering. Pain is caused to us because of situations around us. Whether we will make that into suffering or into transformation is left to us.
Oh, nice.
Pain will definitely come our way, no question, in so many different ways. But will we bring transformation out of this, or will we simply sit and suffer? When something painful come to us, when certain things happen in our life, either we can become wounded or we can become wise. I hope every one of you will become wise, not wounded by this situation. But are there going to be upheavals and as I said, painful decisions to make, all this, definitely it will be there. Nobody can escape this. I'm not in the usual mode of am I an optimist or a pessimist. All I'm saying is, this is a difficult situation, there's no question. The pain may not be personally to you, but when you have to make decisions which are not good for other people, it's very painful. And you may have to definitely do that. Not every industry will be able to bounce back like what you're saying about yourself. So having said that, about government policy and what industry can do, see, this is a very important thing. We are a democratic nation. What a democratic nation means is, the lifespan of a political administration is only 5 years. So when it's only 5 years, no matter what they do, inevitably in the very nature of things, because it's a question of existence, they will always have an eye on the election also. Right now, I think the government of India and most of the states, I would say almost every state, has done a fantastic job of doing whatever they had to do. I have to say this to you in Tamil Nadu, I am seeing here, whether it's the bureaucrats, the police, the ministers, exemplary work. If we can function like this for another 5 years, as a nation we'll be somewhere else. We will be completely a transformed nation if we can really function like this all the time. I hope this culture comes into our lives permanently, because they are doing a fantastic job. I called everybody who's concerned and congratulated them, because they are doing exemplary work. So having said that, we're talking about an economic package. Definitely it's needed. Without pumping in a certain amount of liquidity into the the economic engine, there is no way this is going to start and go. I'm sure the administration is very much aware of this, but how much is enough, nobody knows, all right? Always resources are minimal, and there is a segment of population in India, if you don't pump money into their hands, they will sink below poverty line and big suffering will happen. And there's a segment of population which drives the economic engine like all of you. If there is no money in your hands, in a roundabout way, we will push a whole lot of people into poverty once again. So this is a hard decision to make for the government, but at the same time, there are many forces in the country that who are still in the socialistic mindset. We took a decision to go the market economy way. Every time you take a forward step, a whole lot of people want to take a backward step. When I say backward, it's in a different direction, that's all. I'm not saying going in reverse direction is a bad thing, but if that's the way we want to consciously go, we want to go forward but we go backwards. We talk about market economy, if we start doing well, then we say, rich are getting richer, let us do this, let us do that. So this is there. For any kind of money that government puts into the hands of business and industry so that economic engine starts, there is a whole lot of opposition to this, and they will say this is a pro-rich government. So government will try to adjust that and try to distribute it somewhere else and somewhere else. This dilution is going to be bad for this country. So it's very important, every one of you individually and as an organization, as CII, you must speak clearly. When somebody says something that is negative to the firing of the economic engine in this country, no matter who they are, you must denounce them. This is very important, believe me. A democratically elected government is not a free government. Always they are depending upon people's opinion, what people are thinking about us. Now, somebody does a campaign in social media, this is a pro-rich government, they've given so much money to these corporations, they're robbing the poor, this, that. This is a time when you people must stand up and speak. Till now, unfortunately, I have not seen such a stand from the industry. This is one reason where a very pro-business Prime Minister is playing a little slowly, simply because he knows people are not standing up for pro-business investments, and there is no way this nation will move forward if we are not pro-business. We have to be pro-business. A nation does not go forward because of political rhetoric. A nation does not even go forward because of its military muscle. Today, a nation can only go forward because the success of its businesses. So this is something that is very clear in the present administration's mind as far as I know. And it is very important that every one of us, when negative statements which are whenever a pro-business step is taken, a whole negative campaign happens in the country, that is the time industrial leaders, business leaders must stand up and clearly say, this is not it. The only way you can bring poor out of their poverty is not by distributing money, but by having successful, flourishing businesses in this country.
What a lovely answer. But you know, for so long we've been slammed and told that that you guys are you're taking advantage of people, and there's such a trust deficit that we could never speak out, Sadhguru. So it's brilliant that you actually brought out this point. And we can debate about this for a long time. And even the challenge of how was the lives to livelihoods decision the right one. But all these are things. We have a speaker who's actually the co-chairman of the CII Agricultural Council, and he's also the joint managing director of Blue Star. So, Tyagarajan. So, Tyag, could you please ask your question?
Swamiji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
I fondly remember February 21. I spent over the television the full night watching the celebrations at your ashram. I think next year it is somewhere in March 11th or something, if I remember correctly. How do you visualize March 11 celebrations? It is the largest congregation I have ever seen. That is the first question. The second question is, we are all suffering, say, living in cities such as Mumbai. Do you think there will be a shift to live in rural places, towns? And if it is so, do you think what it will do to the rural economy, specifically the agriculture, whether corporates have a larger role to play? And if so, what we should ask the government?
Right now in this country, it is estimated that in the coming decade, these estimates are before the virus, okay? In the coming decade, it was estimated that 220 million people will move to the urban centers in India. In the rest of the world, 1.6 billion people will move from their traditional habitats and try to move elsewhere. 1.6 billion people, migration. Migration is a very painful thing. When people leave the land that they know and the habitat that they know and move to a new place, particularly cities, as you see in Mumbai, all these slums, these are all people at one time, they had a dignified existence in some village. Maybe they did not have money. Maybe today they are wearing some branded, at least a duplicate branded jeans and shoes and this and that, and they're going to the cinema and whatever else. They may have little cash in their hands, but they had a dignified existence in the village. That is gone. The amount of suffering that particularly women and children go through when people migrate. And above all, which city in the country is really capable of handling 220 million people migrating into cities? After all, it's a question of 5 to 6 cities taking this much population. As it is, most of the Indian cities are practically becoming unlivable. You just can't go from one place to another. A beautiful city like Bangalore, you just can't go from anywhere to anywhere. Literally, any time of the day or night, it's almost like that. So, having said these things, if we do not in some way spread our investments and our business opportunities to rural India, well, it's a very impractical development, it is very lopsided development. Even now, 60% of the population is involved in agriculture. That's where the potential is, where the people are, that's where the business is. Well, right now, they don't have the economic power, so we are concentrating everything in a few cities because it's easy to do that. This is definitely the best time to think of how to spread our businesses in such a way we innovate to see how to serve these people, how to empower them to make more money, and it is more… economy itself should be more spread out. Right now, India's economy is sitting on a very narrow stool, very, very narrow stool. It's not a safe way to sit for 1.4 billion people, this kind of population. It's not a safe way to build the economy. It's on a very, very narrow platform. It has to spread, and the only way you can spread is take it to rural India in some way. There are many, many opportunities how the present businesses can build their facilities in rural India, train people. It's much more difficult, I understand, because to get talent in rural India, to train people, it takes much more. But if you do this now, it will be far more resilient if, let's say another 10 years later, another virus or another nonsense, something comes our way, we will be able to sail through those things much better if our footing is much, much larger than the way it is right now. It is right now too narrow, it needs to spread like that, and so that we are sitting on a more stable platform. There is no other way to do it other than involving maximum number of people. See, today if we say business, industry, one big thing that comes up always is the IT. Well, it's a very important part of our national development, IT, information technology, but the percentage of population involved in this is very small. Agriculture and allied industry is a major possibility. Unfortunately, we're destroying our land, our soil is being destroyed very rapidly. It's very important that corporates should get into it. This does not mean you have to do agriculture directly. Right now, we've been pushing for what is called as the farmer producers organizations. We have one of the best run farmer producer organizations in the country right here, run by us. And we have increased, their incomes have gone up in the last 4 years by about 300%, 3 times over. And wherever we brought in agroforestry, their incomes have gone up by 300 to 800% in 7 years' time. So this is where the possibility is, how to harness this produce. As a nation, we have a latitudinal spread and climatic conditions where if we harness this capability, when I say this capability, see, right now India is the only nation in the world where 60% of the population still know how to perform this magic of transforming mud into food. It's not a simple thing. You may be highly educated, try to grow one crop and see, you will see what a failure you will be. We are transforming mud into food with just traditional knowledge. 60% of the people are still capable of this. For the latitudinal spread that we have in the nation and the climatic conditions we have, we can grow food 12 months of the year. This is a good time. In the next 5 to 10 years, if we establish India as the bread basket of the world, because we have the soil, we have the climatic conditions, we have the latitudinal spread, and we have 60% of the population who are naturally talented in this dimension. Industry must definitely explore this. Well, many policies in the other nations will have to change, but we can always pitch with the government to pressurize other nations to import India's food and many things, but definitely we can supply this food at a much lower price than the way they're consuming it right now. Especially with the economic hit that they're taking right now, all the Western countries. Let's say we take United States as an example. A kilogram of potatoes in United States costs anywhere between $4 to $5 minimum. $5 is 350 rupees or more. Right now it's almost nearly 400 rupees, I think. Anyway, 350 rupees. In India, a farmer is getting 4 to 6 rupees for his 1 kilogram of potato. If 50% you take away for the businesses which export and send and everything, even if it's 175 or even if it's 100 rupees, farmer will get 25 rupees per kilogram, the country will change, believe me. Absolutely it will change. We need to focus on this. That's where the people are, that's where the land is, that's where India's wealth is, but we have not harnessed it.
Wow. Thank you, Sadhguru, and you've always been such a champion of the land and what you've done for it, including, the river project and Kaveri calling, all stunning. And we do believe that has made us wake up to some of this. Sadhguru, we have only two more questions, and then after that, Muthu is going to close. But I'd like Vaishali Sinha to speak. Vaishali and her husband, have started this sustainability clean energy company. She's actually the co-chairperson of the Indian Women Network, and she's a great champion of women and women empowerment. Vaishali?
I've recently met her. Vaishali, how are you doing?
Okay, then.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. Pleasure to meet you again. I've had the privilege of meeting you on 2 occasions in person and more recently when you were in Davos too. First time on screen, so that's the first. I wanted really very invaluable conversation which is going on. I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that we are working and living in a global village now, where traveling around the world and solving global problems of the world it happens collaboratively. Yeah, can you hear me?
We can, please.
Okay. Yeah. So we are all coming together and collaboratively solving problems of climate and other issues, technology, when we come together as nations. However, in the time of this pandemic, we have seen that countries and nations and leaders are becoming more inward.
50.
They're talking more about my nation first, and that is the mentality which is brewing in the world. So, some wisdom from you on that.
About nations, at one time we thought it's all a global village, and now the virus has spread the way it has spread, with the ease with which it has spread. I'm sure the borders are going to get a little tightened up, and we must understand this is the nature of democratic leadership, because for democratic, politically elected leaders, election is a survival issue. It is not just another test, it's a survival issue. If you lose the election, you're gone. So when these kind of crises come, they have to stand up for their people. So naturally, all this bigger talk about the Union of Nations and global village, all this will be thrown to the winds. Everybody will talk about their nation. People are even right now predicting the European Union may kind of come apart because people are unhappy with what's happening there. Everybody is trying to protect their own nation, because these are the compulsions of an elected government, because their lifespan is only 4 to 5 years. They have to protect that because it's their survival issue, and this is the nature of a democratic process. So naturally, this global village thing, it is not that it's going to go away, but as you said, we will do more global village business on the screen. People traveling across, doing businesses across, many ways restrictions will come, because everybody will try to shore up there, because everybody thought it's perfectly okay for China to do all the manufacturing, we'll do the business. I think that model is going to definitely change.
Sadhguru, you're giving us so much business gyan also, love it. But I cannot close because…
I'm sorry.
I wanted to close it and hand it over to Muthu till I got a call from CII, and it was pointed out that we are not the demographic, it's the youth. So we have our CII, the head of YI there, and I'd like him to ask a question, and then, of course, Muthu, please close. or Karthik, maybe an observation.
So thank you, Shobna. Namaskara, Sadhguruji, and thank you for giving me this opportunity, however, being the delay. As young Indians, we work a lot with the youth and we want to embrace the situation with positivity and we want to make this a new normal. Sadhguruji, how do we influence the youth of India to take pride in the Indian brands and promote Swadeshi to try and improve our rural and urban socio-economic situation?
So, if you want Swadeshi to become a brand by itself, which it should become, because culturally we are such a rich nation and an ancient nation that way, but we have thrown away all our brands and trying to adopt everything that is Western. I'm not saying we should not do Western things, but we should not completely sell ourselves. That is definitely not the way, because we are never going to compete in their arena. We must build ourselves in such a way that we are where we are strong. What is the strength of our foundation? On that, we must build buildings on our foundation, not on somebody else's foundation, because we don't really have that foundation. First and foremost thing, this may irritate a lot of people, but let me tell you this. See, somebody was talking to me, I was talking to a small group of people who are all in the boards of various top companies in the country and also in many parts of the world. So I said, see, one simple thing is this. When we say you're a CEO or you are managing as you're a board member or essentially you're managing a big business, this is all public money. Public has invested money. So we believe that why people give their money to you is because we believe you are smarter than us, you are more sensible than us. But on that day, we were in Mumbai and I said, when the temperatures are 38 degrees, all you guys are in ties, suit, jacket. This doesn't make sense to me. In 38 degrees, why are you wearing suits? No, we had a board meeting. What if it's a board meeting in kurta, your brains won't work, is it? Why in the temperatures are 38 degrees, you wear a jacket and come out? I will not see you as a sensible human being and I will not put my money in your hands for sure. So I'm saying if you if you want to change the brand of India, please relax these things. Why are we just doing what the British did? British tied up things because their weather is like that. We don't have to think only if you put on these things, you have an authority, you will look smart or your brains will work. No, you have to understand this, especially now, post-virus. If we do not reinvent India for what it is, there's an enormous amount of culture from which we can build 1,000 businesses upon it. If you want, we can have a long session on this sometime because I've been speaking about this on variety of things, how India's culture itself is a tremendous business if we know how to translate this into a better business opportunity. So first thing is, if you take away this rule, in all the boardrooms, everybody must have a jacket and tie. Maybe if you breathe little more freely without the tie, everything may work better. We may become more innovative.
And we use less energy too, Sadhguru.
Thank you.
Yes.
Guru, I'm going to sign off just to say that it's a pleasure and such an honor to have been with you in this hour of need and this hour of true, challenges. So we'll be more of the solution with this. But first thing, I want to go to Madras and so I hope we can get over this quickly. But I'm handing over to Muthu. Muthuraman, of course, is one of our past presidents. He knows you so well. To all yours.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Romba saukyama irukom to the extent possible. Thank you for a highly motivating and energizing speech, and thank you for the wonderful ideas that you have given to CII and its membership. There is, of course, no doubt that the coronavirus is a very, very big threat to humanity and to India. But as you rightly said, it is also a great opportunity for India. And many happenings around the world indicate that we are moving towards a new rebalanced world in terms of economic power and social well-being. Tomorrow's world, the pecking order will be very different from what it is today and what it has been over the last 25, 50 years. Given India's inherent strengths and the work we have done since 1991 and our philosophy of universal citizenship, India is in an excellent position to grab this opportunity and accelerate its journey. But of course, the next 6 months will be particularly challenging for economy. In spite of all the good intentions, industry has absolutely the right intentions, but in spite of all the good intentions, there could be layoffs, there could be job losses, there could be pain. And one possible way to mitigate this pain and to keep the morale of these highly innovative people high is to get our human resources engaged in some nationally important projects. It could be education at all levels. Like, for example, we need to change the curriculum, primary schools, secondary schools, college, management education, technical, and the whole lot of it. It could be sustainable development. You talked about spreading businesses geographically. It's going to take a lot of thinking. So why don't we engage the population that is otherwise dissipating its energy at home into some useful purposes, which can be again done from home, into thinking about the new India. And of course, such a thing will call for an all India platform, a national platform. An organization like CII and Isha Foundation and a couple of other organizations in India are best suited to come together and create this national platform for the rethinking of India. Once again, Sadhguru, on behalf of CII, I would like to sincerely thank you for energizing us with your wonderful session. I can assure you, we will all at CII, we want to be part of the solution. And namaskaram once again. See you, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram to all of you. And I'm sorry those technical glitches in the beginning. And in whichever way we can be of service, if it's important for the nation, I'm always available. Please, you can call on me for whatever is needed.